Welcome to Legal Marketing Happy Hour.
Hey there, and welcome back to Legal Marketing Happy Hour with Miles Kestran. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist. Miles is a digital paid media strategist at Above the Bar Marketing with a decade of experience helping law firms turn ad spend into real cases. In today's episode, we're talking about sophisticated paid ad strategies, everything from PPC setup to retargeting campaigns and how to avoid the biggest mistakes in legal advertising. Miles, good to see you.
Thank you, Kevin. Happy to be here.
Let's start here. What's the difference between Google search ads, Performance Max, and local service ads?
It's really going to come down to a couple different things. The targeting of each, the billing model of each, and the level of control for each. So traditional Google ads are called pay-per-click, and they're kind of self-explanatory. You're paying to click. You're paying every time you click on the ad. The text usually appear at the top of a Google search result. I'm sure many people listening today have seen these ads, whether you're browsing for sneakers or you're looking for a law firm. Performance Max is a little bit less controlled. It's automated and uses a range of Google's advertising products, YouTube, display, trying to think of some other ones. I think Gmail, you get your ads in Gmail, a couple other channels. And then local service ads are a pay per lead model. And these are relatively new to Google, 2-3 years old. And these are going to be at the very top of your Google search result. So if you type in, attorney near me, you're going to see these local service ads. We like to call them LSA in the industry. And they're going to show a picture of the attorney, the law firm's name, and it's only a click to call, and you're only paying if somebody is a qualified caller.
Okay. And how do you help a law firm determine which of these is the best choice?
Yeah, that's a great question. It really comes down to a law firm's goals, right? And for many law firms, it's lead generation. That's what it comes down to.
Sure.
For PPC and local service ads, they are intent-based advertising. So somebody goes on Google, typically on their mobile device or their computer, and they're searching for personal injury attorney, divorce attorney. So they're the high intent searches that you're placing an ad at the top of that search result. Where social media and some other platforms use display advertising, typically targeting by demographics and location, not as intent-based, more of a brand awareness play. So if a law firm wants to generate leads today, I would recommend PPC and LSA. And if a law firm wants a little bit more brand awareness, get their brand out in front of people, I'd recommend a social media strategy.
I've done some of this, some of the advertising on Google before in various settings, and it's I don't know if it's say complicated, but it's definitely very robust as far as setting stuff up. So when you have campaign structures, I mean, those keyword settings are so big. Can you talk about how that helps to attract quality leads instead of unqualified clicks?
Yeah, and as I just mentioned, we always include attorney, lawyer, law firm, a lot of those legal terms to qualify our leads. We've seen in existing client campaigns, sometimes they won't even include those words in there. It'll be insurance claim or accident or things like that. So we always want to make sure we're including intent-based keywords into our accounts to really drive high quality traffic.
Intent-based keywords. That's a good way to put it. That's a good way. That kind of clarifies that. Now let's move on a little bit to retargeting. So retargeting it sounds complicated, but how can a law firm use retargeting effectively so that they stay top of mind with potential clients?
In regards to the legal industry, there are a few different practice areas where we cannot legally do retargeting. For instance, like divorce or bankruptcy. We don't want to be following these people around the internet and showing them ads when it might be a more personal matter. Some instances, estate planning, elder law, it works great. We do definitely recommend it there. But in the legal space, I would say the majority of the practice areas tend to stay away from retargeting, just so we're not, infringing on people's privacy and showing them a bankruptcy ad or a divorce ad. And you can imagine that rabbit hole you could go down.
I could see that being an issue for people at times, especially if someone just happens to be looking at at their search window while they're browsing. Yes, good point. Good point on that. That's a little different than other areas of business. I mean, a lot of other
Oh yeah.
places would really. I mean, retargeting is a very very effective method, right?
Oh, yeah, certainly. And again, for other businesses, highly recommended. But in the legal space, majority of practice areas, we're going to stay away from it. We do use it, and again, in estate planning, business law, anywhere where someone's doing a little bit more research. You can imagine somebody gets a DUI, they're calling a lawyer immediately.
Yep,
It's not something they're going to wait 30 or 60 days to take action on. Same thing with car accidents.
that's a
Um,
good point.
so again, in the legal space, we tend to stay away from the retargeting, but again, there are a few different instances where we do use it.
When it comes to budgeting, obviously, you know the way that these paid ads work is, you know, if there's high competition, you're going to pay more for those clicks. It's just the way that it works. So when you think about having a monthly budget, do you try to work with people to find maybe, I don't know, maybe the less expensive keywords mixed in with some of the more expensive keywords to try to balance that out?
Yeah, yeah, certainly. And again, it's all practice area dependent. Motor vehicle accident, personal injury are the highest cost per click of any
Yeah.
business, any industry. We
Really?
see, oh yeah, we see the
Wow.
cost per click range from $75 to $500, depending on the keyword.
Holy cow.
So you can imagine the budget you would need to target, car accident lawyer keywords in a big metro like LA, Chicago, New York.
Yeah.
Some law firms are spending up to a couple $1 million a month just on these keywords.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yep,
I
yeah.
remember
And
seeing
then
when I would do stuff, I would see like, oh my gosh, that's like $9. No, I'm not doing $9. That's crazy talk. And you're holy cow, that's insane.
well, these cases can bring big value. We're talking multi-million-dollar settlements. So
True.
Google knows what they're worth. These attorneys know what they're worth. Is kind of why they spend the money that they do. But that's part of my role optimizing these keywords because we will notice difference in subtle things like car accident lawyer and car accident attorney. Sometimes the lawyer keyword will cost $200 per click, and the attorney keyword may cost 50 or 75. Subtle differences, but can make a big difference on your campaign.
Wow. All right. Well, if you're going to spend that much money on a click, obviously you'd like to turn that into a conversion. So when you get a lead from a paid ad, when a law firm does, what do you recommend the intake team do to improve the chance of getting that into a conversion?
Yeah, I always recommend, of course, getting the phone number, getting the name. All our campaigns are going to use call tracking and form tracking. So you can go back and you can cross reference that lead. Hey, did this come from Google Ads? Did this come from organic? Did this come from social media? And also having, a set of qualifying questions immediately before they even, see or speak to an attorney, have a few questions that's going to qualify them. And then a lot of the firms we work with, the more corporate style firms are going to know the closing rate for these attorneys. So they're going to
Mhm.
have, almost like a sales prospect. They're going to know exactly, what percentage an attorney will close on a potential lead.
There's something called click fraud out there. There's definitely people that will try to kind of sabotage other rival businesses, and obviously there's junk leads. I mean, I remember getting calls from people that were completely off base with what we did, but somehow they got to us through a click paid ad. How can law firms protect their ad budget from these situations?
Yeah, so typically, anytime a user visits a website, with this data age we live in, we're collecting all this data, and one thing is going to be your IP address. So if we see somebody that's constantly clicking on an ad, going to your website or landing page that has, that's done it 5, 10 times and has the same IP address, we can actually block that IP address and prevent anybody from clicking on the ad or even seeing the ad in the future.
That's cool.
I know this happened a lot more in the past. We don't see it as much, but there are times I may have to go in. Somebody's visited 10, 15 times, didn't convert. So we just go ahead and add them to the blocked IP address.
Is it difficult sometimes for firms to sort of measure which ads turn into consultations or cases? Because sometimes it can be confusing as to where things are coming from, or is it pretty these days? Is it pretty granular with the data?
Yeah, we would love every law firm to have their attribution airtight. Unfortunately, it's just not the case. We do our best to make sure we can track on our end. Again, with the call tracking number, it's called a dynamic number insertion. And what that's going to do is it's going to place a number at the top or anywhere on your website, and it's going to give a pool, a number pool. And we would all be assigned a different number. So, Kevin, you would see a different number. I would see a different number. Somebody else would see a different number. And that way, no matter where they go on their journey, if they leave, they come back, that number is going to be assigned to them. And then we can go back and we can track, where exactly it's coming from. So that attribution could be allocated to the proper marketing channel.
Wow, wow. The data's gotten really detailed these days.
Oh, yeah. You got to be able to prove that return on investment.
Yeah. Well, that's what's so hard sometimes about, whether if you don't ask, where did you hear about us? Like sometimes it's really hard to prove that ROI.
And a lot of times people just say the internet. What does that mean these days?
Google.
Yeah, exactly. We see that too. We found you on Google. And that could be Google My Business. That could be Google Ads. That could
Yep.
be, you name it.
Yeah, could be all sorts of stuff. Has this changed, like the data portion of it? Have you seen it change dramatically over the past 5 to 10 years?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So the DNI number, dynamic number insertion, that's something that's relatively new within the past 3 or 4 years. I would say I wouldn't say we were flying blind 5 or 6 years ago, but it was a lot harder to track the leads than what it is today. Today it's easier than ever.
Yeah, that's really incredible. I don't remember those kind of details when I was doing it. This was a long time ago now, but yeah, that would be helpful. But it's a lot to monitor though, huh?
It is, yeah, and a lot of the firms they want to know exactly where things are coming from. So it's something that we keep up with on a regular basis. We're tracking these leads, monitoring them on a regular basis, and usually reporting back on a weekly or monthly basis to these firms.
A lot of especially new firms probably try to do their own marketing, try to like save some money. What do you see as like one of the biggest mistakes that maybe a new firm makes when they try to do paid ads without getting someone who knows about this data, knows all the stuff that we're talking about, like you?
Yeah. So, I mean, one thing is Google has its priorities, and I think the law firm has their own priorities. And typically, Google's pushing a lot of their new AI products these days, and
Yeah,
I, I'm not the biggest proponent of them yet.
yeah.
Today, the traditional PPC is just by far the best. I know this may be a bit biased, the best advertising avenue any firm can invest their money in. Local service ads are another great one. Um, the Performance Max is now being called AI Max because it is an AI driven model. But in our experience, we haven't seen the best returns yet. I'm not saying it's not, it couldn't be great one day, but it's not there yet. So I always recommend traditional PPC, LSA, and make sure you have those correct negative keywords in there. You don't want to be targeting for a bankruptcy attorney when you're a personal injury, or criminal when you're a family law firm.
That's a really good point. We didn't touch on that before when I was talking about the keywords, but yeah, the negative keywords is a big deal because especially in law, because there's so many different areas of law. Yeah,
Oh
you
yeah.
don't, you gotta, that's the thing that I always think about with people that try to do it themselves. It gets so complex with that. It's not necessarily an easy thing to do when you don't know what you're doing. Um, so yeah, so keywords and negative keywords, making sure that those align, that's one of the biggest. Is that one of the biggest factors as far as a successful campaign?
It is definitely one of the biggest factors. There's a few others in there as well. And being a 10-year expert, we have these extensive negative keyword lists that we apply to our campaigns. And really, you're only going to have a list like this if you've been in the industry for 7 or 8 years. So if
Right.
you go in by yourself and you're doing this, you may add 5, 10, 20 keywords. Typically, we're starting our campaigns with up to 500 to 1,000 negative keywords.
Wow, you start with the negatives. Okay, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yep.
Yeah. How do you help people figure out a monthly budget? Because that's another area that people probably are just, hey, what's your monthly budget? I mean, I don't know. How much should I spend? What is it going to be worth? Like, how do you kind of coach people through that part?
Again, so it's really dependent on practice area, and Google has some great tools. Keyword Planner, you can go in
Yeah.
there, put your keywords in there, and Google's going to spit out an estimation. Typically, we see an average conversion rate of 11 to 15% at above the bar. The legal industry average is 7%. So, for instance, let's say your budget is $1,000 and your keyword cost is $10 per click, I think you'd be getting about 100 clicks per month. We would multiply that by the conversion rate, let's say 15%. That would get you about 15 leads every single month for $1,000. Again, it's really all dependent on practice area. Things like immigration keywords can range from $7 to $10 per click, divorce 25 to 30, and then as I mentioned earlier on the podcast, personal injury, motor vehicle accident, we can see keywords cost up to $300, $400, $500 per click.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that keyword planner is really cool too. I mean, I've used that even when I'm not doing a campaign, just if I'm curious about what kind of words people are searching for what I do or what a friend does or whatever. If I'm trying to help somebody, the keyword planner is a great tool.
Yeah, and Google offers some excellent free tools. Google Trends as well. We can spot trends in search markets to determine, hey, is this an effective time to be spending money? If it's like you want to be spending during peak season, Google Trends is going to show you, hey, personal injury attorney is searched 2 times or 3 times as much in the summer months as opposed to the winter months. So either you can, double down in the summer or save a little bit of that budget for the winter when that cost is lower. But there's a lot of good visual data there between Google Trends, Keyword Planner, and some of their other great tools.
For anyone listening who is like, man, I got to get started on this. What before they sit down with you, what kind of ducks should be in a row? What should they have sort of like ready to facilitate a conversation with Above the Bar?
Yeah, so typically we're going to talk about budget. That's first and foremost.
Sure.
The question I always like asking is how many leads do you want to get every month? Because then I can tell you what that budget is going to look like. Again, you could go into Keyword Planner yourself. You could go into Local Service Ads Planner yourself and see what these cost. But these are typically things that I'm going to do on a pre-onboarding call, kind of discuss the budget, what to expect from these campaigns, what kind of leads they're going to generate. But yeah, that's usually what I do on the pre-calls is kind of set the expectation for leads, budget, so on and so forth.
Well, it's no secret that, if someone needs a lawyer, if they don't know one, they're going to Google. I mean, let's be honest. So definitely very important to get your to get your presence felt out there. All right. Well, thanks for listening to today's episode of Legal Marketing Happy Hour. If your firm is ready to tighten targeting, improve lead quality, and scale paid ads that actually convert, visit abovethebarmarketing.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Leave us a review. We very much appreciate it. Miles, great chatting with you today. Thanks for all the insight.
Thank you, Kevin. Take care.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.